Hi everybody, my name is Victoria. Welcome back to another new episode of Discovering Art Together. Today we are going to learn and discover about what is Baroque art. So we're going to kind of walk through a few main things that we want to learn about Baroque art. So first thing is, what is Baroque art? And also some of the main events that happened that made Baroque art really fascinating and amazing. And we will also kind of go through a little bit about what identifies and what are the characteristics of Baroque art. And also, last and not least, we're also going to take a look at some of the most famous artists and well-known artists of that time. So if you guys are ready to learn a little bit more about Baroque art, let's get started. Baroque art, also known as Baroquism, which I did not actually know that there was a term for that, flourished around the 17th century until around 1750s throughout Europe. So it was a short-lived but a very prolific, and a lot of amazing artworks came out and was produced in that time period. Before Baroque art was actually the Renaissance, so it came right after the Renaissance and late Renaissance, so Mannerism, and that's when we moved forward to Baroque period, and later on what followed after the Baroque period was the Rococo and the Neoclassical art. Did you know that the word Baroque came from the French word baroque, which basically means irregularly shaped, which is really interesting. So why did we call this era Baroque in the first place? Well, at first the French word Baroque was used mostly to refer the pearls that are slightly irregularly shaped, but eventually it came to describe an extravagant style of art characterized by curving lines and gilt. So basically what gilt is, it's a gilding, a type of art where you kind of decorate the whole or part of wood, metal, or glass or other objects with gold in leaf or powdered form. So gilded objects is also described as gilt. Isn't that cool? So that's why Baroque came to be, because of very, I guess you could say, irregular stuff that was not common in Europe at the time. So mostly from Dutch trades and a lot of new discoveries and new ways of seeing and having lifestyles, because we have a lot of the wealthy merchants, and we kind of have more artists being patronized and supported by monarchs instead of the Catholic Church. But the main reason why Baroque art is called Baroque art is basically the artists of this time period created artworks with more emotion, tension, and drama. Baroque art is highly interested in using intricate shapes or decorated with complex patterns in their paintings, sculptures, and decorative arts, and also architecture. Okay, so now that we know what Baroque art is, let's dive in a little bit to see what are some of the main events that actually did happen in this time and era. So we're going to look at four main events that made a large turn in history, that made a great change in how we used art and also what people perceived in art and are looking for in art in that time period. Roman Catholic Church gained more control over the Southern Europe, while the Northern Europe was mostly controlled by Protestants and also relied on the monarchs. So the Catholic countered the revolution in protest to the Protestant Reformation. To show strength and power, new works were commissioned by the popes in both art and architecture. So back in the days, art was a symbol of power and also wealth too, though, but just having great art was a big thing to tell your social status and also your power and many other stuff that made you a lot more dominant than others. So that's why the church decided to commission a new series of different arts from new artists to have this larger turn in history. But the northern part of Europe also did something very similar. The only difference is that instead of the commissioners or the patrons being the Roman Catholic Church, instead it's actually the Protestants and also monarchs. So we have Louis XIV and also Charles I from England, who also did a lot of commissioning from these artists of the Baroque art age. But the most interesting thing is that they did not use art in the same way as the Catholic Church did. So that's one of the main events that happened during that time, and here is another one. So the next one is basically, during that time, science was also a big revolutionary thing that was like a big boom, you know? So science was also a great influence in art at that time, with astronomy, new ways of seeing the world, and philosophies. So that's one of the reasons why Vermeer painted the Astronomer, because he was inspired by this new science and way of seeing the world. So that was a new influence in art that's not our regular subject that we actually would paint, which is mostly the religious and historical themes. Now, the other thing that also happened during the Baroque art age is that wealth accumulated through trade in the Dutch Golden Age. So the Dutch Golden Age is kind of the Baroque art age for the Netherlands, and a little bit of Belgium too, though. But Belgium was kind of like half and half because the southern parts were still controlled by the Roman Catholic Church. But the patrons were in search of more small Baroque paintings for their homes, and that made a lot of opportunities and chances for artists to paint different subject and themes in their artworks, like genre painting, still lives. Flower still lives was really popular back then. Also portraiture for the middle class and wealthy merchants, and also miniature landscapes was also a very popular thing back then. Yeah. Prints were also produced for those who are interested in future purchase of original Baroque paintings. Okay, so now we kind of learned a little bit about some of the main events that happened during the Baroque art age. Let's go ahead and now jump into what identifies and what are the main characteristics of Baroque art. One of the main things that identifies and the main characteristics of Baroque art is mostly they focused on biblical, mythological, and historical paintings and natural landscapes. So focusing on the smallest details, they kind of work on giving more sense of emotion as well as the ability to capture dramatical emotions. But at the same time, there were different time periods within the Baroque art. So kind of like the Renaissance, where you had early Renaissance and high Renaissance and late Renaissance. So Baroque also has something similarly, and they also kind of have different stuff depending on where the Baroque art is in Europe. So Roman or Baroque art in Italy and Rome was slightly bit different from the northern part, like for example the Netherlands, and also southern part where Spain is, and they kind of have like a slightly bit different variations of what they did depending on which part of Europe. Did you know that a depth created with painting was called tenebrism, which is popularized by Caravaggio, came from the Italian word tenebroso, meaning darkened and obscured. So what this did is that it allowed the figures to be shadowed, then dramatically illuminated through light. Another interesting thing that you might want to learn about Baroque art is that different monarchs tend to want to commission different types of artworks. So for example, Spanish and English kings would commission more portraits, while the French kings preferred more classical landscape. The northern Baroque patrons are mostly from the wealthy merchants, preferred smaller still lifes and genre paintings. So it's pretty interesting how everybody had like a slightly bit different taste of commissioning different types of work. So that's why that particular era, the Baroque era and also the Golden Dutch Age, is very, very filled with really high quality produced art in so many different styles and genres. Okay, so now we know what the characteristics and what identifies Baroque art. Now let's take a look at some of the most well-known artists from the Baroque art times. So let's start with early Baroque, which started in Rome. We have the well-known artist, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard of his name, is Caravaggio. So he was born in 1571 and passed away in 1610. So he was a great master at capturing drama at its climax, known for depicting biblical and mythological scenes. Next, we also have another artist that was also really booming in this time period, Southern Baroque paintings, and this artist is from Spain, and his name is Diego Velázquez. So he was born in 1599 until 1660, and he was a court painter. So he painted for King Philip IV, and he has a lot of some of his most famous paintings over here, and also very skilled and very well executed and adding lots of details. Now let's take a look at some of the Flemish Baroque painters of that time. We have Peter Paul Rubens from 1577 to 1640, which did beautiful historical paintings. He was also really great with the human figure and doing a lot of mythological paintings as well. And he also did a really cool collaboration with one of his fellow artists, Jan Bruegel the Elder. And he's from 1568 to 1625. And he was mainly the artist that did really amazing and detailed landscapes, but he also did many historical paintings and figure paintings. And now let's move on to the Dutch Baroque painters of this time, and from the Dutch Golden Age, let's introduce Rembrandt van Rijn. So he is an amazing artist and probably one of the most and well-known artists throughout that time period and also till today. So from 1606 to 1669, he was well known for his very dramatical but also amazing storytelling in his paintings and his very genius way of creating his composition and kind of making his characters breathe life, and it kind of made us feel like we were right beside the figures and characters in his paintings. And he's also very known for his self-portraits as well. Along there, we also have Anthony van Dyck, which is one of Peter Paul's best students, if you did not know about that. He was also a court painter for the King of England, Charles I. And let's not leave out one of my favorite artists, Johannes Vermeer. Johannes Vermeer was around 1632, and then he passed away in 1676. Vermeer was known for his ability to master light and to captivate scenes of everyday life. So his paintings of View of Delft, his very famous painting of The Girl with a Pearl Earring, and so many more amazing paintings that he did. I think he painted around 43 or 45 paintings throughout his whole life. Yeah, he was a very short-lived artist, unfortunately, but he also did produce very minimal paintings. He was not as prolific as Rembrandt, though, but all of his paintings was very high quality and very detailed and meticulous and very, very unique. We have a French Baroque painter called Nicolas Poussin. He created many perfect landscapes and illustrated the connection of the people to the land. So I would consider him one of the artists that was more well known for his historical paintings and also for his landscape painting, because a lot of the artists from future generations looked up to Nicolas for his paintings of trees, classical landscapes, and so on. And last but not least, we also do have a very famous sculptor and architect called Gian Lorenzo Bernini. Bernini excelled in every sculpture genre, from portraiture, tomb sculpture, religious, and mythological representation. He was also a very creative architect of that time, and also he painted and drew very well. Okay, and that is it for today. Thank you again so much for watching this brand new video about Baroque art, and I hope you guys learned at least one or two things that you did not know before about Baroque art. So I was happy to kind of introduce this to you and also kind of fill in a little bit more on the art history part and just make it a little bit fun, being curious and also interested in learning more about the different eras and time periods in art history. And we also now know some of our favorite artists and what time period they were in, and why Baroque art is like Baroque art. So if you guys also discovered something else new about Baroque art that I do not know about, please do leave a comment below. I would love to learn more about Baroque art. I would say Baroque art is the next favorite new art period that I really love, because I kind of moved from Renaissance art, because I remember when I was a kid I loved Renaissance art a lot because of the realism and also for many of the storytellings and how they painted, and also the amount of details they add into the paintings. It was really beautiful. And then I kind of shifted towards the Golden Dutch Age for more Northern European paintings like Vermeer and Rembrandt and Jan Jevons and so many more. Just so many awesome and great artists from the Golden Dutch Age. Maybe we shall talk about the Golden Dutch Age next together. That'll be really interesting to kind of discover and share and kind of learn as well together. Okay, and if you have any questions, please also do comment below, and if you like this video, please remember to give the thumbs up, and also please do also subscribe if you haven't yet. There'll be more new art videos like this coming out every week, so don't miss out on that. And just a mini exercise for you guys this week is to kind of explore a little bit more about Baroque art. So there's so much to look at, there's so many great artists to look at, and just kind of be curious. If you find this one particular artist, like try to research a little bit about them, seeing what they were known for, what amazing paintings they painted throughout their life, and so on. Okay, and thank you for joining me on this very new episode about Baroque art, and I shall see you guys next time. In the next episode, we will see what we will learn, discover, and talk about. Okay, have fun, stay creative, happy painting, happy drawing, and till next time, bye!